Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutchy Gaming and the second installment on the 1x Tornado Shot build diary. If you want to know more about the series and you haven't watched first episode, I recommend going back and doing it because it explains really the whole process of the diary and also shows how I bought all the gear and how the 1x build came about. But if we're going to carry on with this episode, which is going to be yellow maps, I've got 10 yellow maps ready to run. I've done a quick test map just to make sure that the build's up for yellow maps and doesn't need any currency injection, and it seems to be fine. Now, I have out all these maps, and some of them have got not particularly nice mods on them, so there might be a couple of tricky maps for the character, but the idea is to run 10 yellow maps first, then see where we are, assess whether the build might need some improvement, and then we'll run the second set of yellow maps, and then after that we'll talk about what we're going to do to go into red maps, what we're going to add onto the Atlas tree, and we'll have a look at what currency I've got left. So I've sold a few things from the last episode. I sold the 2 patient cards, I sold my recombinators, and I sold the Oscam gloves. So we're now sitting on 95C. I'm not sure what I would upgrade next with the currency anyway, which is why we're going to run 10 maps first, and then we'll have a look and see what we want to do to tweak the build to get some more damage out of it. So let's jump in and look at the highlights from the first set of yellow maps. So I finished the first 10 yellow maps. The first ones were just tier 6 to 8 with a couple of 9s. Not really had any issues with any of them, so I'm not going to upgrade the build yet. Next 10 maps, I'm going to try and do tier 10 maps if I've got enough in my stash. In terms of sustain, we've just had an insane amount of maps drop. So I've been alking every map that I've had, and I'm only scouring the odd one, so I've hardly spent any currency at all on the maps, and I've had an absolute huge amount of maps drop. In terms of currency, I have sold the 4 burial medallions, I've sold the Saint's Treasure div card that dropped in the first 10 maps, and then I've sold a few essences, but I've still got quite a few deafening ones in my inventory. So I've got 179 raw chaos, and the divine orb and the orbs of annulment would be fairly easy to liquidate. So go back into Excellence next and have a look at the profile. So it's 271 cows in total in terms of value, but a lot of it, the essences might be difficult to sell until we get a few of them. So realistically, this is probably the amount that I'm going to look at saying I've got. So the annulments plus the Chaos Orb will be 193. We could probably price this for like 8 and sell that. So I'd say we're at 200 Chaos in terms of currency that we can use to upgrade the build. One thing I have noticed is because I used the Eldritch lesser orbs that I've had when they drop, because they're not really worth anything, on the gloves. Now these already had fire damage to attacks on them. So I rolled the Eater of Worlds currencies that I had and managed to hit spell suppression. So what it actually means is I'm now 16% over on spell suppression, even when I'm not on full life. So what I can do is take some of the regret orbs out here, and I can refund these spell suppression nodes here, take these ones here, and that'll be bang on 100%. And then I can take these 2 proj nodes here for a nice bit of upgraded damage. I'm looking to try and up my crit chance a little bit. At the moment, Brittle's absolutely fine on like normal map bosses. I'm brittling for like 13%. So I don't need to worry about brittle at the moment. But later on, when we get into red maps, it's definitely going to start to fall off. And then if we do want to try and do one of the big bosses, then it's going to fall off even more. So that's why I'm not upgrading the build at the moment, because what I need might change. So what I'm going to do now is run the last 10 red maps, yellow maps for the project. Going to try and do 9s and 10s because that's going to give me a good indication of what early red maps are going to be like. Single target is going to be absolutely fine. Clearing with Sentinel might start to get a little bit more dicey. I've had 1 death in the whole project so far, and it was actually in white maps. So I was watching a YouTube video at the same time and didn't realize I got stunned. And when I turned back around, I'd been killed. But if I would have played more sensibly, that death wouldn't have happened. I'm expecting some deaths because we don't have any physical damage mitigation or sort of damage taken as elemental. So when we've got our flasks up, we've just got 4k armor and 23k evasion. What I might look to do when we get the currency is actually maybe drop this area, go into a cluster jewel so I can get endurance charges into the build, and then just get some more proj damage, leech, so we can drop these nodes, and maybe drop these. But it's probably going to cost around 300 chaos, I would estimate, to get the cluster jewel set up in play. So it's definitely not going to happen till at least the end of yellow maps, beginning of red maps. But we'll probably come on to that in the last part of the series. So that's enough for me waffling for now. Let's jump in, quickly show some highlights of the last 10 yellow maps, and then I'll summarize and we'll go from there. So I've now finished the 20 yellow maps. I had quite a few drops that I've managed to sell most of the items. So I had a few essences leveled up to Deafening that I sold. I sold the 4 burial medallions, and then I sold the div card earlier on. I think I covered those in the earlier part of the video. In this session, I had 2 Expedition Sentinels drop. I'm using one, I've priced the other at 100 cows, but it's not yet sold. And I had an unusual gems blueprint that I sold for 37 chaos. I did get a couple of harvest gem crafts when I was in one of the maps, so I managed to get my tornado shot and my main link qualityed up to 20%, but the rest of the gems are still unqualityed. I had 2 essences turn into the special essences. I think it was delirium, so I sold both of them for a combined 28 chaos, and then I sold the annulment orbs that I had in the inventory as well. I did a little bit of Tusion gambling with the currency that I had and some of the rerolls. So I picked up like a few chaos and a couple of things here and there. This set of 20 maps has taken a lot longer because I've been trying to sell stuff as I've gone along. And then when I've sold stuff like small amounts of maybe expedition currency or essences, I've priced them slightly under market value so that they can sell. So bossing was absolutely fine in this setup. There was a couple of situations where I had really juiced up essence monsters that didn't feel great. And there was a couple of moments in the juiced tier 10 maps where Sentinels, along with other mechanics, didn't cause any problems that didn't feel particularly brilliant. And then I sold a few of my Deafening essences slightly under market value as well. So I'll just show the currency tab. All that really matters is the chaos because that's what we've got to spend. I could convert maybe the fusings into, say, I don't know, 25 to 25C. But at the moment, I'm not going to bother because I think there's so many people selling these. And that's not a huge amount that people are realistically going to be looking for. So I'll quickly go into Excellence next and take the snapshot again. So the reason that's gone down is because I had to sell some of the things slightly under market value to get rid of them. But now we're left with pretty much a spattering of essences and stuff that realistically aren't going to sell. So we've converted most of what we can into chaos, and it's 326 chaos. So what I want to do before red maps is do a bit of a shopping spree. What I'm looking for is probably not going to be able to get all of them, but I want Secrets of Suffering. I want an 8 passive large attack cluster with 3 notables. Realistically, I want Mana and Life Leech so that I can then drop the nodes on the tree. I'm going to replace my Gale Sight because I won't need it anymore with a normal helmet with Tornado Shot fires and additional projectile. And then I'll use Greed Essences on those to roll whatever I can. I was going to look to get Asenath, but I'd rather have the additional projectile in terms of single target damage. I can always, if I want to, use Hydrosphere manually. I would love a Quiver with +1 arrows, but I think that's probably going to be out of the budget. If I'm going to look to do Cirrus in 20 maps time, which is going to be an absolute nightmare, I need a Corrupted Blood Jewel. If I have enough currency to get a normal 6-link chest, then getting something with the Gravicious Energy Shield craft on it and taking Ghost Dance will give me a bit more survivability. And then the last thing to look at is whether I look to get a small cluster to get endurance charges. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get all of the above, but what I'll do is come back in a moment and we'll do a bit of shopping and see what we can get for our chaos. So let's go do a bit of shopping and spend our money. So cluster jewels, I'm not going to get like an ideal cluster jewel because there are a couple of X and that would wipe me out. So we're going to have to settle for something like Smite the Weak, Fuel the Fight and Feed the Fury. So we will main, which gives us increased damage. Unfortunately, this is one of the travel ones. I think Feed the Fury is going to be at the back of the jewel, so we're going to have to take all the nodes. We'll see if this person's there then for 40C. If not, there was quite a lot of similar jewels available, so I should be able to get one for 40 to 50C if this person's not there. They are there. Awesome. Okay, so then we're going to go and look for interrogation. So looking at something like 75 chaos. So we'll go for this one at 77. Okay, interrogation achieved. Okay, so then I need a helmet. So I'll see if this dude's there for 20. If he's not, we'll get some more money ready. He is. Cool. Okay, then what we're going to do now is craft this one up. So I'm going to go into my Tornado Shop dump tab and see what greed essences we've got. So we've got 1 Shrieking and 3 greed. If we get spell special, it'd be great, but since it's armor evasion, it's unlikely. And we've got 8%. It's not the worst, but the other suffixes are terrible. Yeah, the 8% doesn't really allow me to do anything. That's got intelligence on it, which is nice, but the other 2 are garbage. We'll go again. Okay, that was more like it. It's got fire, it's got lightning, and I don't know what you can craft on these as a prefix. We could do some fizz taken as fire. Let's just put, so we've got a divine orb, so let's just put a little bit of fizz taken as fire on it. And then that will do for the helmet. And we have left 189 chaos. So for now, we'll refund these. And then we're going to refund these. We're going to refund these. Yeah, unfortunately we do need fuel the fire at the back there. So just now, just to stop my thing going silly, let's just put that back in there. And Secrets of Suffering is going to go in here. So I need to find 3 points if I don't want to go medium cluster. So I'm just trying to say we're going to have to drop these, I think. Take those, and then we need to find 1 more point, because I would like to keep those up there. So I need to find 1 more point, which we will do one of these life ones. We'll do the 50 life. We can then take that. We can then put this helmet on, Grace, Flame Dash, and Steel Skin. Okay, so damage-wise, it's probably not going to be that much better if it's any better at all. But it just means we get the extra secondary projectile, which is really handy. I may buy some more at the beginning of the next episode. I mean, we've not got a huge amount left. We've got 189 chaos, so I might look to upgrade the rings or the amulet. So I was going to look to buy a +1 quiver, but there's not really one that's going to give me enough damage and replace my cold resistance that I need to make it worthwhile switching. So I now have, which I might spend at the beginning of the next episode, 189 cows. What we'll do is take the current build into red map, see how it goes, and then maybe just as we're about to try and tackle Cirrus or whatever endgame boss we pick, then we'll look to rebuy. So I actually decided to spend some more of my dough. So there's footage just up minimized in the corner just because I don't want people thinking I'm cheating. I bought this chest piece for 80 chaos. So I decided I wanted to get life as extra energy shield. So then I've dropped these 2 points here, and I've dropped this life node here. So I've taken Ghost Stance, and then I also, for 30 chaos, bought this 2 passive cluster with Enduring Composure. So I've now got endurance charges. I've then had to spend 10C in Jeweler's rejigging colours. Took me ages to get a blue socket on this pair of boots as the 4th socket. Then I recolored this helmet, because I want to move my castle and damage taken to Immortal Call. Since we're using endurance charges, you get loads of benefit from that. So I need to level all these gems up to the relevant levels. But that should give me a lot more survivability, especially against things like Cirrus, which is mainly what I'm focusing this build for. If you have Immortal Call, you take so little damage compared to any other defenses. Like, as long as your Immortal Call procs, even with this character and its squishy defenses, it's going to tank the die beam pretty easily. Because I don't think I can get the DPS much more without spending, 3, 4, 5x. So we're going to be stuck at probably like 1 mil to 2 mil DPS. So Cirrus is going to take a while. So the more I can survive, the better. The only other thing I need to do, which I'll probably do in the next episode, is get a similar jewel to this. I might have to forego the life on it and get Corrupted Blood immune again, because that's going to help massively for Cirrus. In terms of currency, that's left me pretty broke. So I'm now down to 57 chaos. So it's spent pretty well. I'm very good at spending money. I won't bother selling the Gale site because they're like 3 chaos. I think I bought it for. Same with the chest. It was 10C. I'm not going to bother trying to sell it because there's tons that are similar on the market. So we'll just keep them for now. Might use them in another build. So just before we close out the video, now that I've got my gear set up to what I think is going to be okay for red maps, and then we might need to make a couple of adjustments for Sirius, I thought we might as well close the video with a map showcase. So there's not going to be any talking over it. I'm just going to show a map in case people are keen to see what it's like. It's just going to be a tier 11 Crimson Temple. So obviously stick around for that if you want to see it. Next episode should be out tomorrow, and that will probably finish the series. And then I might start again, as I said, with a different character. That's really it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.